Welcome everyone to another episode of the Marketing Measurement Podcast. This time we're gonna do a news roundup. We have three amazing topics. First one being the tariff back and forth. So the amazing tariff policies
the
that
best
Trump has
tariffs in the world.
Let's not go with Trump imitation there. The best tariffs in the world, of course. And we're gonna discuss how to include those into marketing mix models and into the measurement systems that people run. Then the second topic, ATT app tracking transparency framework that Apple has implemented around, when was that? Like
2018 iOS 14.5.
You remember that?
Yeah, that
you
burned,
remember
that.
You're going to talk more about
burned
that.
into my brain.
Yeah, and then the last topic, there was a really interesting blog article by Binet, the author of the infamous book, The Long and the Short of It, who is a sort of brand expert. And we're gonna dive into that and what is actually the state of the art in terms of brand modeling. So, but let's start with the first topic: tariffs. How do you include it into a marketing mix model? It's easy, isn't it? You just include the
super easy.
A binary variable.
It's almost as easy as announcing them.
I would actually hope it's not included in my depot right now, but well, that's a different story.
Yeah, that would be good if you could just kick it out.
Fine. Away with tariff effects.
So I don't think we need to kind of reiterate on what has actually happened. First being put in place, and then
a lot of back and forth, and now China has approximately 285% tariffs on anything.
Yeah, lot of tariffs at least.
Besides animal food, besides digital products.
Okay, yeah.
No, not digital products. Technical products, yeah. Whatever.
Electronics, yeah. So how do you include the tariffs in your marketing mix model? First of all, do you really need to include them? I think you should have a solid reason to believe why tariffs would impact your business in a more or less predictable way that you can model, and that you could actually get your hands on data relating to tariffs that would make sense to include in the model. So first of all, you probably should go back to the drawing board and think about what it actually is that you are selling, and what is your dependent variable in your marketing mix model. So, for example,
what would be a business where it's really obvious that it's probably going to be impacted?
Harley Davidson,
Jack Daniels.
Explain which market and where.
Because I think the first answer of the European Union to the tariffs were like, well, then we put tariffs on important American products, which was exactly Harley Davidson motorbikes and Jack Daniels, which I saw a very stupid joke on TV. I think that was Jan Böhmermann, that this is actually for all the 60 or 50-year-old Kieferorthopäde, whatever, people that fix your jaw, and that's a very, very big target group and very important because also, they buy Harley Davidson and drink Jack Daniels.
Also, I think these products come from red states, so states Republican.
They try to do that a bit.
Punish them a bit.
What Jack Daniels does not come from a democratic state? That's amazing.
Yeah, so Maine lobster will still be fine, but yeah. So
they would include that in their sales data for the EU, right?
Probably, yeah.
Because they're probably not going to sell more in the US.
That's the interesting thing. So likely tariffs are not going to impact your business linearly because first of all, they don't go into effect immediately when they're announced, and even if they go into effect immediately, you're not going to feel the effect immediately because your suppliers might still sell off stockpiles first that have been in port or have been in the country already. So what might actually happen is that, and we actually saw that, I think, with cars in the US, with German cars in the US, that actually your sales at first are going to spike because consumers are pull forward purchases that they were planning for later in the year.
Which are then not due to your amazing Google Shopping or Facebook branding campaigns. That's the whole reason why we want to include that,
tariffs.
Right? Maybe demand capturing has some incrementality as well. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Okay. But generally, it's probably not going to be just due to media then. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that you understand first that tariffs don't need to impact you in a linear way, and what is impacting you in a positive way now might actually impact you in a negative way later in terms of sales, what we just discussed about. So you need a smart way of modeling that. So either you are gonna, so now let's talk a little bit about the data that you should be getting. So maybe you're gonna work with the announcements. That's probably
dates,
announcement dates, and then maybe you have a
like a binary variable, or how would you include that?
Yeah, some you add a few dates afterwards, right? Tariff plus 7 days, tariff announcement plus 7 days, or you're gonna do something like X days until the tariff really goes into effect or something like that. You could do that.
Very stupid question, which I haven't thought about before. But I mean, this was all happening in like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Up, down, up, down.
Yeah.
Most products that get imported or exported.
Wasn't it even within one?
Yeah,
like
within
a time
1
frame
week.
of 7 days. Or
I think plus minus 10, 15% in all our stock depots. But for most products that get imported or exported, that's a very short time frame. Does it even matter that it went up or down? No. In other ways, it does matter. But I mean, there must be a massive ad stock.
Again, I think depends a lot on the company and the product and so on and so forth. So some companies have big stockpiles of their products. Others don't at all because maybe they're perishable or they have really sophisticated just-in-time supply chains where they don't have stockpiles because they don't need to keep them. So it really depends. At the end of the day, what are tariffs doing? First of all, there's a psychological effect, which I think we are observing with all the pulled forward purchases. And then there's the actual effect on the price. So the real reason why tariffs should have any impact on the consumer is because they would increase consumer prices by suppliers passing on the price increases to the consumers. Now the supplier is not necessarily forced to do that, right?
No.
So you could absorb.
Of course not.
You could just not earn money anymore.
If you have a 3,000% margin, you can absorb a 10% tariff also. Yeah, but you could do that. What I'm getting is that if you have price in your marketing mix model, you might not need tariffs.
True.
Aside from accounting for the psychological effect.
Unless, for example, like Audi, who consider it not delivering and exporting Audis to the US at all anymore.
Yes.
So
but of course,
but I mean that's then something they do in their company. They can actually kill at their mix model, right?
But normally people don't give a shit about tariffs. They care about the price of the product that they're buying.
Yeah, but aren't the tariffs supposed to make everything cheaper in the States, like eggs and I'm not sure Jack Daniels or whatever?
See how that worked out.
Yeah, that doesn't really
the
work.
The reason
right?
why we talk so much about tariffs is because Trump actually has done a great case study in earned media. He's really put his agenda on the map, and everyone's fucking talking about it. And even we are giving him valued media.
I didn't say the name.
Media time, for the topic tariffs, we are giving it valued media time on our podcast that, by the way, has a very high CPM.
And he's given some very, very interesting and valuable investing advice.
Yeah, maybe I should get an account on Truth Social and do my shortings. And whatever. Other question, how is this different, the whole tariff thing, from like COVID or, for example, from when you have competitors that change anything in your market around you?
I mean, both COVID and tariffs is an external shock to the market that impact consumers, suppliers, and I mean competitors alike, right? Whereas the whole competitor going on a pricing decrease campaign, slashing prices, doing promotions, or increasing media spend, that's going to affect the balance between you and the competitor.
Yeah.
Whereas the tariff thing kind of affects you and the competitor more in the same way.
Yeah, true.
And COVID is also it's a different thing because like it was a natural crisis. But tariffs are entirely man-made, which is, in a way, a good thing.
Well,
because you could just...
There's some theories on the outbreak.
Might be aliens as well.
Right, but COVID, we couldn't just switch it off, right? Via an executive order. Or give a 90-day break from COVID.
We did in between in the summers.
True.
Okay, let's not get too political.
No.
It's
But I mean, interesting. I think it anyways. It means when you want to get a tariffs, and you have to remodel a lot, and you have to look. You have to look backwards. You have to think about it, and it's not easy.
You really need to think whether this is included or should be included in your pricing variable.
Whether it's actually worth the exercise.
Yeah,
I mean,
whether it's actually a good idea to include it.
To be honest, I mean, we often hear how important weather is for our clients, and I mean, we've done, probably each of us has done it. We've done some analysis on the weather in correlation with what was it, free membership signups at Xing back in the days.
What?
Correlation coefficient was like
0.3,
whatever.
The correlation between renting a scooter at free now and rain is quite high.
Yeah, I imagine that.
That works.
Yes, but like you need very granular data because like with big cities such as Hamburg, like big from a German perspective. you can have like rain in one part, and
And I mean, there are already 5 stations where you can get data from, but it still doesn't help you much.
Yeah.
I think the lesson we can take away from this is it might make sense to include them, but include them. Think about it, what you want to include, and are you actually maybe over specifying your model because you're already controlling for price, and tariff at the end of the day is a common cause for price and maybe sales.
Yeah.
So think about it whether you actually should include it, or maybe it leads to an over specification of the model.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, next topic, ATT.
That's my topic, right?
That I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I was working in app businesses since 2014, and also in 2018 when all this happened, when suddenly Apple decided, oh, we do something great now. Just very quick rehash, what is ATT? Before ATT, app tracking transparency happened, you were able to really track 100% when someone clicked on an ad because the IDFA in iOS was saved, which means the ID for advertisers. And then when someone downloaded your app, you could just match the IDFA with all the clicks, all the views. Massive amount of data, which we never got.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I remember how amazed I was when I learned about this, because on the web, on the other side.
It wasn't 20, it was 2019. Fuck,
Yeah, I was just going to say,
2018
was
was GDPR.
Yes,
Right.
It was a tiny bit later.
Yeah, it was great. It was 2 awesome years.
Yes.
And then what happened in 2020, Tim?
No, 2020? 2020 was COVID, right?
Yeah, and
No idea.
iOS update?
Yeah, there was.
iOS 14.5 was 2020?
Yeah.
Was it also?
Pretty sure.
I mean,
What
then
there was 2020. It wasn't okay. It wasn't 2018. It wasn't 2019. It was 2020, right? Anyways, we had all this great stuff. So when I started at Free Now, we actually tracked all the clicks, all the views.
Yeah. On a user level.
Yeah, we're able to work with this company that did great multi-touch attribution for us, which then didn't.
Who was that?
I have no idea. Which then didn't work anymore because Apple cranked up their privacy, which means the IDFA was suddenly not there anymore all the time because customers users, iOS users, could change the IDFA, could hide the IDFA. And if you have downloaded an app in the last 5 years, you might have realized that on iOS, every time you download something, there's this nice little pop-up. Do you want to get tracked or not?
Yeah.
And
And
everyone
who
says
wants to get
yes.
tracked?
Everyone says get tracked, besides most of the Germans. So I think you can say between 30 and 40% or 30 and 50% of the data, you don't get the IDFA anymore, which means you can't do marketing tracking. Even if you have something like AppsFlyer Adjust and so on, yeah, that's quite sad. And but Apple did something great and very nice to everyone on the other side, because next to all this privacy, they built the SKAdNetwork, which means you could now send all your data to Apple. Actually, only 8 events on most tools, which means something like first login or first app open, registration, something like a sale with the product information and the price and everything, which means in the Apple SKAdNetwork interface, you could then see for all the campaigns, I think it only just works on campaign level, not on ad level, you could see how much money you made, how many registrations, how much activity. So Apple is doing all the data work now for you. But they
Very
don't-
transparently.
Yeah,
as
very,
well.
very transparently. But they don't give you the data on user level anymore.
You don't
which
even
is-
need to check whether it's actually true. You just trust
no,
Apple.
it
It's
is
beautiful.
true.
Yeah,
And
this
fun
is-
fact, that's something I almost forgot. On the Apple Search Ads network, you still get data on user level. Yeah, so what happened now?
And now France is investigating whether it's an unfair advantage that
Yeah.
Apple kind of gathered there. So and I think I heard Germany as well.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I mean, 2 biggest states in Europe and the EU usually more privacy, concerned.
but it's not just about privacy. It's also about that before this happened, you were still able to use stuff like dynamic links on Firebase and other things which are more self-made to get this data connected. Not perfectly, but you could still get something out of it. And since ATT, you can only use mobile measurement partners like AppsFlyer, Adjust, Kochava, Singular Branch, because they have access to the SKAdNetwork. You don't get access to the SKAdNetwork without these partners.
Yes.
And that's the big problem. It means that for all the companies, they need to spend money on this. They need to have the expertise how to implement these tools. And that's something that, what's the word? That limits the market entry a lot, which is something that the EU or that France and Germany are investigating against.
Yeah. So it makes it really hard for smaller e-coms that are app-based to grow their business.
So
and
it's
get
pretty much
into
a
the
balance
market.
between how much privacy do we want
Yeah.
and how much do we want to fuck over our economy and don't let smaller players into the market.
Yeah, and let's keep in mind, Apple just did it for the sake of privacy.
Yeah, totally. That's why you get all the data from their own network.
Yes, of course. True. Cool. Next topic. So that's going to be interesting, and in line with that, also the EU is investigating ways how to reduce the negative impact that GDPR has, so all the cookie banners and stuff like that.
Because it's doing the same, right? I mean, you didn't have to do it quite often, but I worked with so many small companies that were like, how do we do content management? How do we even do that? Because not everyone has someone in the company that can work with Google Tag Manager.
Yes.
And otherwise you can use Wix, Squarespace, which is all not perfect. So it's
or you need to buy a content management platform.
Yeah.
So,
but still, then you have to implement it properly. I mean, that's still the problem, right?
You have to be willing to invest the cost of that.
I would bet at least 80% of all the companies are in the gray zone when it comes to GDPR right now.
Yeah.
Maybe even 100%.
That's a big statement.
Yeah, because it also changes, and I'm 100% sure if you look at any website, you will find always something which is not in line with GDPR.
Yeah, or the teledata.
Whatever. Or this Californian thing that also is out there, which I never understood.
Cool. So then the next, and this is all kind of motivated by making business in the EU easier and stronger.
Yeah.
So to kind of simplify, which is great initiative, and obviously it's important to secure data privacy as well.
Yeah.
And so. Then the last topic that I wanted to talk about, there was an interesting article on the Think with Google blog by Binet, who is the author of the long and the short of it, as I mentioned before. And he is also arguing for triangulation. They call it trifactor, so combining marketing mix modeling, econometric modeling, and multi-touch attribution, and testing. And one interesting aspect so that's great. More people talking about that, and
we love that. We love that. We love to talk about it. So please
talk more about triangulation. It's such an awesome topic. And he also argues for using AI for that. So some automation.
I thought AI for marketing mix modeling was bad.
Isn't it called what was it, A+ or A1? Like this. Haven't you seen this?
No.
One minister in the US now called it A1. Oh, we cut out that part.
No, that's interesting. But what does it mean?
She just called it instead of AI because she makes it A1.
At least not L. You can call me L now.
That was really funny. We put it in the show notes, similar to the blog article that I just mentioned, and the essence of the blog article was then how do you actually, because his topic is all about, so Les Bennett's topic is all about accounting for brand activity and making sure you understand the effect of your marketing activities on brand. And then he argues for that Google actually provides a lot of valuable data in that regard, amongst others, Google Trend data and share of search data. And maybe interesting discussion. What's your experience? And maybe from that, I thought it would be interesting to talk about the current state of the art in terms of understanding impact on brand and brand equity. And maybe just to reiterate, because for us it's so natural.
Yeah.
But brand and brand equity is not something that you look into your dashboard and it just tells you. But it's not. We talk about the value of brand, but it's such a abstract topic. Yeah. It's not really easily measurable. People invest so much money. There are so many companies whose sole business is analyzing brand equity and brand value. So
brand trackers, awareness. That's you can have a dashboard, but the dashboard has very, very slow data and is maybe updated once a month. And then your amount of people that you actually survey for your brand awareness is not that big. So yes, it's good indications, but I think all of these things are, very, very wobbly.
I think even more so than in the traditional marketing measurement, you need to kind of do some kind of triangulation. Yeah. So you need to account for different data sources. Yeah. So as Tim just said, the traditional way of estimating brand health or brand equity is via surveys. And obviously you can call only so many people. And you can only do that so often, right?
Yeah. So for example, we have one client that does brand tracking. So they have the panel consists of 1,000 people that they ask every month about brand awareness and how the brand is being recognized. So that's the way that people usually do it.
Yeah.
But it's not. It doesn't feel that data driven, and you rely on the people's sort of.
Yeah. And my favorite example is when we did a brand survey at Good Game Studios and asked everyone, "Hey, where did you actually find us?" Way too many people that were in countries where we didn't do TV said TV.
Yeah.
So that's it's always quite hard for people to really
Is
understand.
that a known fact that TV gets overestimated
Yeah.
in surveys?
I mean, I'm not sure whether it's a known fact, but in all the surveys I did, it was always.
Because I had that a few times before with customers that they had post-purchase surveys and that TV seemed overestimated there.
Yeah, because TV gives you the biggest trust. If there's something you see on TV, you think the company is important and valuable, because TV is expensive always. So they might have seen it somewhere. They might have seen an article on something, but not TV advertising.
Interesting.
Always, yeah.
So how do you incorporate it?
Yeah, so how do you incorporate that? So first of all, it can be a bit difficult for modeling if you don't have it on a high frequency, right? So probably you can get it on monthly frequency, but it's maybe more likely that you get it on a quarterly frequency. And then if you want to include it in a marketing mix model, that's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Still, that's exactly what people want to do these days. They want to build marketing mix models that tell them which channels are impacting their brand in a way. It's extremely hard to do. So it's marketing mix modeling is extremely hard.
Yeah.
But it's much harder even than doing just the short-term kind of modeling. And the reason being is because as soon as you go more long-term, everything becomes kind of very blurry, very unstable, very arbitrary. Like, is this an actual effect, or is it just spurious, whatever? Quite difficult. So now, but what you can do is that you can build either a model that directly predicts just your brand KPI, whether that's share of search. So share of search essentially means how often is your brand term searched with respect to your relevant competitors. So for example, for Mercedes, that would be Audi and BMW, I guess.
Oh, and all these American cars that are
and
very
not them.
expensive.
Yeah. Not those, Tim.
Yeah, okay.
Seriously, mate.
Can you name one?
No. And our competitors I'm also not going to mention. But for free now, might have been Lyft and Uber.
Yeah.
Well, Lyft doesn't matter that much anymore.
No, Lyft
it's not a competitor
Lyft's
anymore.
Not competitor anymore.
Sure.
But Uber and Bolt. So
Uber and Bolt,
Cabify.
exactly. And then what you do is you over time you want to see how often you get searched relative to your competitive category, and then what you hopefully see, and there has been a lot of research on that is actually a predictor for brand health, which is cool because that you can get on the weekly level with Google Trends,
Or even daily.
Google Trends.
Yeah,
if you go longer back than 3 years, you can only then 1 year, so you can they roll it up to the weekly level.
But real time now on the daily stuff.
Actually, you can pull it quite often, or you can maybe find some other ways of getting that. So that's actually pretty good because that data is available, and it's for bigger brands, it's going to be impacted by millions of people searching, and not just by 1,000 people in your panel. So there's quite some potential in there. It's also much cheaper. But it's free.
But always think about that there might be a new competitor that just comes in like Pokemon.
That can happen. Actually, you need to know who your competitors are.
Like
obviously.
Pokemon Go on App Annie, where they didn't have any idea and they undervalued Pokemon Go by like, I'm not sure, a factor of 5.
Yeah,
it was much bigger than anyone expected. Yeah.
Cool, interesting, but we're a bit short on time. I would love to dive into this a bit deeper, maybe next episode.
Yeah.
And maybe get in someone from the brand side who can talk about this. But for now, I'd really like to thank you for being part of the show. Subscribe to our podcast, leave a comment on LinkedIn, wherever you can, also on Spotify. And thanks to you guys, really informative. And until next time, bye-bye. Thank you. Wait, what?
Meet us at OMR.
Oh, we forgot OMR.
Very important.
Like, we're all going to be there. Big booth, funnel booth, masterclass, guided tour. Need to prepare for all of that still.
Still have a few days.
But maybe we get in a show before we do a show there. Maybe we do a show there. I don't know. Maybe that's possible.
At the funnel booth.
Yeah, why not? Okay, cool.
See you.
Bye-bye.